Welcome to Disaster Party Podcast. As always, this is Rob Cedeno.
Along with Mr. Woe Daddy himself, that's Andy Vivian's BIVIANS, the one true Woe Daddy of Vivian's INC. And let me tell you, I put my glasses on so that way I could see this. But thank God we are alive, because today we're doing episode 25, Woe Daddy.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow. I did not know how you were going to get that one. But isn't that
I didn't know how I was
exciting?
going to do it.
Isn't that exciting though? 25 episodes so far.
25, that's crazy.
And that's our like official weekly main topic podcast, not the news podcast.
Nah,
Which, if you
exactly.
haven't heard, you should go back to yesterday's podcast and listen to the news. We did a little bit of rambling. Andy had a little update in his life. We had a couple of things going on with Marvel.
Ooh,
And
speak about it.
what the fuck happens in the crypto market?
It grew and then it crashed. But you
Did
can
it?
hear all of that in the news segment.
Just go back one episode. Thank you very much. But before we jump into our topic today, I'm just going to remind everyone to like, share, comment, rate, review, and subscribe to Disaster Party Pod on all social media platforms, including YouTube, where you can see our pretty faces right now.
Aww.
Pretty faces.
See it. Whoa, daddy.
All right, Andy. So what are we talking about today?
Ooh.
Today.
Mortal Kombat!
Wait. Not the 1995 version.
No, wait.
Oh.
Which one? Because the first one was dope.
Well, no, but that's the theme song of the 95 version.
I mean, yeah, they kind of remixed
So I
it.
just wanted to make sure everyone knew.
Yeah.
We are talking about Mortal Kombat 2021,
Ooh.
HBO Max, or select theaters
Ooh. Talk about it.
because of COVID.
COVID.
All right, Andy, before we jump into the movie, okay, I have a question. And the question is, have you seen the originals? Which you already said yes and yes.
Hell yeah.
What were your expectations? What did you want from this movie that were not in the other one?
To be honest, I didn't really have a giant expectation. I just wanted it to be better than the last one they gave us, because the last one's so shitty, it's unbearable to watch. The first one was awesome.
Yeah.
And so dope. But the last one they gave us, that kind of sucked. A lot.
Yeah. Do you remember the beginning?
Nope.
And you get so committed to Johnny Cage, and then he gets killed.
Way to go.
Right in the beginning.
They kind of do that to me in this one, but they don't kill him in the beginning. They kill him towards the end, but we'll talk about that.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that.
My favorite part of this entire movie. Well, my favorite reason for this entire... Well, one of my favorite reasons for this entire movie.
Is...
Fucking Kano, man.
Oh, Kano.
Such a great character. Yo, he had me dying from start to finish.
Yeah, he was pretty funny.
Hey, don't pull that Harry Potter shit on me again. Like sweeps him. Hey, Magic Mike, put a fucking shirt on.
These are lines that I did not write down, but I remember him saying.
He made me laugh the entire time, and I was like, this is what you need throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
But we'll go into what happened to him.
All right. So overall, very quick, no rating. We'll save the rating for the end. Overall thoughts. Spoiler-free overall thoughts.
Spoiler-free overall. I thought it was a good movie overall. I liked it. It had a lot of holes.
Wait,
A
what?
lot of holes.
Oh.
I feel like there's a running thing with movies nowadays and video games where they give you half a movie or half a game, and then they're like, oh, here's the full version, now buy this, and it's like the extended version, which winds up being 10,000 times better than the original. And I feel like that's what they did with this one. I feel like there was a lot of rushed scenes or rushed stories or parts in the story that didn't make sense. But I thought the action was dope.
Yeah.
And I thought the little nostalgia spots that were put in there was dope too. So the first go around, I enjoyed it for the movie that it was. And then the second go around, when I had to pick it apart, I was just like, oh, but this doesn't make sense. So, what about you?
I thought overall the action was good. I'm pretty much going to go with the same thing as there was holes. And not just big holes in people's chest cavities or big holes where their heart used to be. No, plot holes. Plot holes. Yeah, but yeah, I thought it was good. The action was good. I mean, if I would say would I watch this or Kong versus Godzilla again, I'd probably go with this one. Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Same. I even liked Kong vs. Godzilla, but I would still go with this. Because, again, I did like it as a movie. I thought it was pretty good. But then when you compare it to everything else, and then you kind of like pick it apart, you're kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah. All right. Do you want to get it started, or do you want me to get it started?
All right, we can.
We can jump right into the movie.
So it opens up at the Hanzo Hashi compound, and Hanzo is talking to his son and wife, and his wife is gardening with a tool, which, spoiler alert, it looks like Scorpion's weapon that's in his head. And Hanzo is going to get water, and as he's getting water, you see the marking of Mortal Kombat on his arm. All of a sudden, the mom is talking to the son, and a fight breaks out. Someone gets stabbed. The blood goes through the like screen type deal, and they're freaking out. And a man stops Hanzo's family and is looking for Hanzo, and you see some ice forming from his hand. And Hanzo hears a scream, and his wife comes running back, only to find them frozen and dead. More enemies come to the compound, and Hanzo starts literally murking everyone. He is stabbing everyone and breaking their neck with the same gardening tool that his wife was using earlier.
He tied it to a rope. And he was just like, get over here, fucking just like slicing through people's chests and... Hanzo,
it was dope.
Hello.
He murked everyone with this one tool.
So wait, one thing real quick. It was 1617. They made sure that it was known that they said 1617. But it was nice though. One thing that I did just the Hanzo, he goes when he sees his family, he basically says like how grateful he is to have his wife.
Yep.
And like have his kids. And then he walks away to go get the water, and then that's when all this like just gets out of hand.
It just turns on him.
Yeah. Go ahead. So at one point though, there's a sword to the head. Like he fucking just like puts that sword right through the guy's face.
Rips it out, breaks his neck.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It has the amount of people that he murks in this one scene just alone is insane.
Yeah.
But it turns out that Bihan is the man that's responsible, and finally they meet face to face. And he whips the dagger at Bihan, and Bihan kind of just looks and is like, haha, you missed me. And then he pulls the dagger from the tree and it cuts his face. And then a fight breaks out. And he's trying to use his dagger to like stab him. But Hanzo gets stabbed with his own dagger. He cuts him up the center. And then he pulls it out. They fight some more. And then Bihan stabs him again in the chest. And he gets the better of Hans. And right before Hans dies, Hans tells him not to forget his face. And then he pretty much dies. Yeah. Killing the legacy.
So that was the big thing, though, that Binhan, right?
Beyond.
Beyond, said that he wanted to make sure that he killed Hanzo's bloodline. Like that was the whole thing. Is I guess he has, his family is a bunch of fighters, or I don't know. But when he goes to stab him, Hanzo, he says it was for his brother.
Yep.
Yeah. And the interesting thing too is, I don't know if you picked it up because I was watching with subtitles. But one of them was speaking Chinese, and the other one was speaking Japanese.
Oh yes. Doesn't Han say something along the lines of, "I don't know the words you speak, but I'm gonna kill you," or something along those lines?
So not only is this like feud heated, these two motherfuckers don't even know what the other ones are saying. So it's like they hate each other enough to kill each other without even knowing how to speak the language of one of another.
Remind me of exactly what you just said at the end of this movie.
Oh, dude, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. The same fucking shit, right? Yeah, I'm right there with you. I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Because I'm the same way. I'm like, wait a second. All right. But he says for the lineage, I think, or he says for.
Well, you find out why.
Yeah. So you kind of see Hanzo like laying down dead, and you start to hear a baby cry, and he starts to kind of twitch a little bit. Hanzo wakes up. He's all cut up and bloody. He still has the dagger in his shoulder, and he crawls to the sound of his child, but dies. Now, earlier, I think it was his wife that put him in like the floorboard, so that way Beyond couldn't find him, and saves him. Fire takes over Hanzo's body, and he's gone. Raiden shows up, and he walks throughout the house, and he hears the child, and he takes the child, and he also looks at Hanzo's dagger, and he kind of keeps it for himself, and then he takes the child to another realm.
And then Mortal Kombat title screen.
Ba, ba, ba.
And the words, did you get the words? It says Earthrealm is on. It's a black screen now after the Mortal Kombat title, and it has some words, and the words are: Earthrealm is on the verge of catastrophe. Should it lose one more tournament, the savage realm of Outworld will invade, but an ancient prophecy foretells that a new group of champions will be united by the rise of Hanzo Hashishi's blood.
Boom.
And now we're at a gym, and we get introduced to Cole Young, and he's a cage fighter. So he gets into the cage, they start fighting. Cole's like got the advantage, pop, 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 pop. And all of a sudden, you see a character, Jax, walks in.
Ooh.
Watching the fight. All of a sudden, Cole loses the advantage, and Cole ends up tapping out.
Tap, tap, tap.
Bye, bye, bye. Outworld. Here we have Sub-Zero, Shang Tsung. They're talking about winning the tournament, and they basically, if they win this year, the bad guys invade. But they discuss that they need to win, and they need to kill the fighters in the tournament before the tournament begins.
Because if Earth wins, then they've won the last, like,
you have to win 10 in a row.
Yeah. So they've won the last 9. They need to win this one so they can take over the Earth realm. And they say the prophecy of Hanzo is still in play. And Bihan is kind of just like, that's impossible. I killed him centuries ago. Now, if you remember what Rob said, the date, this is centuries later. Bihan's like, I'm not referred to as Bihan anymore. I am Sub-Zero. So he instructs Sub-Zero to pretty much kill all the champions, and that way they can win the 10th one, because if you have nobody to fight, then they can take over.
They forfeit.
Yep.
So now Cole is in the bathroom, and he's looking in the mirror, and a red figure appears in like this weird little like flash, and he gets scared. his daughter has a string bracelet that she makes him, and he puts it on. Jax introduces himself. He says he tells Cole his dragon tattoo is cool. His daughter says that it's a birthmark. His daughter Cole and his daughter go get ice cream to meet up with mom or wife. They never really specified. Jax is watching from afar in a truck, and oh no! All of a sudden, the ice cream shop starts like freezing up, and the icicles are like going up the windows and like the building and stuff. Sub-Zero's here. Oh no! So Sub-Zero kind of like lifts some snow off the ground, and then he basically like launches it at the ice cream shop. I don't know if you saw this, but when he goes to fling the snowball, there's just some random dude walking through the street who just gets plummeted.
It's murked.
Just bong, dead.
It's like giant pieces of hail just coming down at you.
And it just kept coming, and you just see this body just keep bouncing. Like, what the fuck? But,
innocent bystander.
Yeah, how many? That's the death toll right there.
Yep. Is it China all over again?
Might be. So Jax pulls up in his truck and goes, "Get in, get in." They race away. He says, "Sonja Blade." He tells Sonja Blade that he got Cole. Jax says that the marking means that he's chosen, which you don't really like. He's chosen, but they didn't really say what for yet. Sub-Zero blocks them. Jax goes out. He gets out of the car to go fight him he has a shotgun?
Yeah, it's like a shotgun / like grenade launcher.
So he goes out there. Cole takes the car. He races off. Sub-Zero disappears all of a sudden. So Jax now goes into a fucking like abandoned warehouse, I guess. And it's all frozen. Some parts are frozen, some parts are not. Sub-Zero appears behind him. Jax turns around, shoots him with like the fucking grenade launcher thing. Sub-Zero just freezes the blast and just like freezes the gun. Boom. Now it's fight. So now they're just going back and forth. Sub-Zero has a clear advantage. And dude, okay. So Sub-Zero gets Jax on his knees. He has both of his hands pinned. He has both of Jax's fists pinned in his hands. He freezes Jax's arm from his hands to about his shoulder, chest area. And he just fucking... So now Jax's arms are frozen. He just like fucking yanks them and just pulls his arms off and just shatters the ice that his arms were created of. Wow.
That's it.
And
rips
then
his arms off his body.
He rips his arms. He shatters his arms. Jax looks like he's dead. And Sub-Zero just like tosses him off like 3 floors.
His head smashes
like
into that one that one level.
And then you're like, fatality number 1?
Oh.
Is Jax dead?
I would think so after all that.
He got his ass whooped. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Badly.
Yeah. So now Cole is at his house with his family. He tucks his kid in, and he tells his wife that he has to go find Sonja Blade. So now we go to the outworld, and it's Molina. So she has a sister who's a bad guy, or who's a good guy. But that's like, if you saw the original movies, Katana is the blue version. Molina is the purple version, and Molina is like her face, her like, I don't know what, from her ear to ear like smile is all fucked up, and she has like pointy teeth.
It's like all ripped apart type deal.
Yeah. So she like eats people kind of shit.
She tells her master Tensu, right? No, Shang Tsung. That Sub-Zero killed one of the fighters, but the other one got away. So he orders her to send in Reptile to try to kill him. So Cole makes it to the place where Jax told him that he would find Sonja. and Sonja attacks him, but realizes that he's the guy that was sent by Jax when he shows her the symbol. And he starts to tell her about the research, and he's like, "You made that up, like no." But he learns that he's been chosen to fight for Earth in Mortal Kombat. And Cole has another flash of Hanzo. Then he meets Kano, which to me is probably the greatest character in this entire movie because he's funny as hell. And the only reason that Kano got his mark is because when she met up with him, Kano slit the throat of the other guy that was a champion.
So I'm curious on who that other guy is, though, because it could be like one of the, obviously they're going to take from the characters, but it could have been like a newer, not as popular character that he could have.
That'd be dope.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know.
I wonder if they'll ever go into that.
Because they talk about other heroes that were dead later on.
Yeah.
So, and that's all off-screen stuff.
True. I'd be happy for that.
Yeah. But one thing that Shang Tsung said, he said that Raiden can't find out that they're basically trying to cheat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they can't get involved, right?
Yeah, because the gods can't get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sonja, it does not have a mark. You would think that she had a mark, but she does not.
Right?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, lights go out. Acid is on the corner of the bunker, like in the corner roof. And Reptile is there, but it's not the standard Reptile from the games. He's not wearing basically the green version of Sub-Zero and Scorpion. He is basically a reptile.
Legitimate reptile.
Yeah.
Like a house pet.
Yeah.
Just bigger.
Uh-huh.
Like
pretty much.
Godzilla when he's swimming.
Pretty much. Yeah. And Sonja shoots at it, but it doesn't die. Kano uses acid to get out of his chains because Kano was locked up. They all three of them work together to fight. It's a 3-on-1 handicap. And all of a sudden, they get the advantage because it's 3-on-1. And Kano, Fatalit fucking T, rips out Reptile's heart and says, Kano wins.
Kano is awesome. He makes me laugh through this entire thing.
Yeah. But as he did that, so as he says, like, Kano wins, the acid and all that stuff, all the destruction from them fighting, basically destroyed all the research that they did.
Oh, because they burnt the house down with the flare that they stabbed in his back. Because Reptile was able to go invisible. So they had to, like, find him. So they stabbed this flare in his back so they can just follow the flare and then beat his ass that way.
Mm-hmm. So Kano sees a photo, and he basically says, "Oh, that's Raiden's temple." And Sonja asks about it, and he says to fuck off. He goes to leave, and Sonja offers him $2 million to stay, and he counters for $3 million. She agrees. Coles says, "You have $3 million?" She goes, "Fuck no, she lives in this dump." But as Kano came in, that's when he spit on the gnome, right?
Yeah.
So that plays a big role if you want to, like, explain that a little.
So, well, I kind of can't explain it until we get to the end.
Okay.
But, yeah, so Kano's like, yeah, you don't have the money. Like, fuck off, you live in a shithole. And Sonja's like, no, don't talk about my house. Like, she gets very offended that he says that. So then when Cole is like, wow, you're really going to give him the money? She's like, no, I live in this shithole. Like, haha, I played him. Meanwhile, Kano's just like, I played you guys, I was going there anyway. So it's kind of like they played each other. But then he spits on this gnome, and you see, like, this giant loogie just hanging off the gnome. Remember that, because the gnome is going to come back into play.
Yep.
They get on a plane and they head out. Another flash of Hanzo wrapping that dagger. And what seems like rope pops up, and then Cole shoots up from a nightmare. So they start talking about how they're getting ready to jump out of this plane, and then Kano's just like, fuck it, and pushes Cole out of the plane. They finally land, and Kano pretty much eggs on Sonja to fight him for the symbol. So she kicks his ass, but she can't finish the job. So she kind of like stops, and he's like, "Yeah, that's what I thought, princess." And then she kind of like lets him up, and they keep on their walk.
Liu Kang is in the distance. Well, you don't know who he is, but he's in the distance, and he fucking fireballs Kano. And Kano's like, "Wait, I want powers too. How do I get powers?" And then they follow.
He just David Copperfielded me.
Yeah. Yeah. They follow Liu Kang in the temple. Kang says that they must start their training. So they walk into a room and you see photos of like Goro and the boss from Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh,
Oh my goodness. Khan. No.
Shao Kahn.
Shao Kahn, yeah. So the bell rings and Sonja basically goes and she sees Jax in a bed. And Liu Kang says he is trying to find a way to heal him because basically he seems dead. And all of a sudden Raiden shows up and he says like basically like that's it. This is all you have. This is all you have to defend Earth. And he's like Sonja doesn't even have a mark. And Cole is ready. And then fucking Raiden just zaps the fuck out of Kano. He just keeps getting blasted by people.
He woke up and said, Gandalf, what did I miss?"
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
You want to go into that? If I miss
So
it.
then he talks about how they have to get ready. Then all of a sudden, Sub-Zero shows up to the temple. And Liu Kang tries to fight him off. But then Kung Lao shows up with his hat razor. Whips it at him. Fights him off. And now it's all of them. It's Molina shows up with Sub-Zero. And then Raiden finally shows up and puts a barrier around all of them so that way they can't get in. Kind of to stop them a little bit, so that way they can still continue to train.
Mm-hmm.
Jax wakes up and sees his robotic arms, and kind of like freaks out a little bit. And then the hero starts training to test their Okana, which is the power that they have to find within.
Mm-hmm.
They're all eating, and they're all starting, and now they're all starting to piss off Kano by insulting him. And they start, calling him a failure. And Kano's like, "I'm the black fucking dragon. Like, I'm not a failure." And as they're pissing him off, he goes on this long rant about how good he is. And this all started over getting an egg roll. And they were like, "Nah, you don't deserve an egg roll. You can't even find your Okana. Like, fuck you." And he's like, "I'm the black fucking dragon." And then earlier, Reptile scratched his face. And the eye that they scratched, Kano shoots out a laser beam through his eye. And Kung Lao like blocks it with his hat and it bounces off of everything. And Kano's like, "I told you fucks I'd be the first one to get superpowers. I got it. Look at me." So he finally found it because the power of his Okana was pretty much like feeling his anger. So then next you see Kano and Cole training, and they tell Cole to focus on the pain and that it'll unlock it, but Kano pretty much just keeps beating his ass. Cole's like, "I got this." And Kano's like, "Yeah, he has this," and then he beats him up a little more. He's like, "Oh, well, guess he really didn't have it." Kind of walks away. Raiden pretty much says that Cole is useless without his Okana, and that he's like, Cole's like, "I'm an orphan." And Raiden's like, "You're not an orphan. This is handed down from generations to generations to you." And tells him where the mark comes from and how his lineage and how he's linked to it. And how when Sub-Zero killed Hanzo, he went to the Netherrealm to search for his revenge. So he tells Cole to go home and be with his family, that if he doesn't have his Okana, then he's pretty much useless to them and he can't help them. So he pretty much sends him home.
But before that, there was one of the part that I thought was really funny though is because when they were doing the training monologue stuff, there was a point that Liu Kang was fighting Kano, and he just kept doing that backwards like low trip and low trip. It's like a spam move in the video game, and it looks just like the how he would in the video game. And I was like, oh my god, I remember how fucking annoying that move was.
Well, he said it, and I quote. I don't remember what the actual quote was, but something along the lines of like, "Don't do that David Copperfield shit to me."
Yeah.
So then he hits a low spinning kick, and he's like, let's see you do that again. So he does it again, and Kano's like, "What the fuck? Don't you know any other moves?" And then he's like, and he flinches, and he comes up, and he hits the spin kick again. He's like, what the hell? Put a shirt on, Magic Mike, and
Yep.
walks away.
But can we talk about like Kung Lao looked badass.
He did.
Liu Kang not so much. Liu Kang kind of the whole movie he comes off as like a little bitch.
I mean, he was ripped, but he's not Mortal Kombat 1. No.
He looked like a scrawny kid that has a six pack only because he doesn't eat.
No, don't get me wrong. He was ripped. Like, he had muscle tone to him, but he wasn't the original. Mm-hmm. The original was jacked and ripped.
And that's the 1995 version.
Yes.
Yeah. He was much more badass.
Yeah, this one was kind of like shy and like timid. It was weird.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. We'll do this.
I'm like, dude, you are just a bitch.
You're not him.
Yeah, though. So basically, we go back to the outer world, and you see Kitara, who is this like flying demon chick. You have Cabal, who's a badass character. He looks like he's almost in like a robot gear, but it's not. It's more of like a flexible, I guess.
I love him.
He has these two swords that like curve with like a circle at the end, kind of thing, and you're like, if I'm maybe I'm not like describing it correctly, but just like it's like two swords, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just fucking slashes people. Badass character, and he's fast, so he does like these dash moves.
He can like phase in and out.
Yeah. So he's a badass character. And then General Rico.
Yep.
Rico. I don't know anything about this character. I don't know anything about the Wing Girl either, but I stopped playing Mortal Kombat after like 5. And then I played 10 and 11, but even half those characters, I'm like, who the fuck are these people?
Yeah, I think I recognize some from some of the storylines, but
yeah,
not too much. The Cabal is my main dude every time I play.
And it looks like Cabal doesn't like Kano, and he kind of talking shit. And then all of a sudden, some big door opens, and a big, shadowy, 4-armed, big motherfucker shows up, but you only see his shadow. But we all know him as Goro. So Cabal ends up showing back up at Raiden's temple, and he's trying to convince Kano to turn on the heroes. And basically you're like, oh, maybe he's not going to do it. And then Kano's like, what do you need me to do?
Yeah, it didn't take him much convincing to turn back at all. Which is interesting because Cabal earlier was like, he's the reason I'm in this fucking iron lung suit. So he was like, he hated him, and he's talking shit about him. Then he's like, you should be on our team.
Yeah, and that was like back-to-back scenes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. So basically, Kano is now a bad guy, but he's always been a bad guy, so we all know this. Back to Cole and his family. They hear something outside, and there's like black smoke coming out of like a shed.
Yep.
Kano zaps Raiden's staff with his eye, and the shield that is now protecting the heroes goes down, and the bad guys show up. And Kano is revealed that he is now bad. Cole is now, he's dealing with a bad guy because now we find out that Goro, who's probably like, I don't know, 10-foot, monster-looking, 4-armed motherfucker.
Yep.
And so basically he shows up and he's like, oh shit. So then back at the temple, the fight breaks out, and basically the fight breaks out at both places. The bad guys have the advantage. It's Jax versus Riku, Molina versus Sonja, and Cole versus Goro, and Liu Kang versus Cabal. Molina wins but doesn't kill Sonja because she doesn't have one of those marks, so she's not considered a chosen one, and she almost looks at her as like a pity kill, and she's like, I don't got time for you. Wow. Kano then attacks Sonja after she was left for dead, basically. So you're like, oh fuck. And then Liu Kang versus the bird girl, Katina.
Yeah.
Oh, Katara.
Katara.
So Liu Kang's fighting her. Sonja's down. Kano shoots a laser to knock down some rocks, which ends up pinning Sonja. Liu Kang spins his hat. Or no, Kang Lao spins his hat as the bird lady's flying down and fucking like knocks her into his spinning blade hat, and this shit just chops her in two.
Slices her right in half. And then it says, flawless victory.
And I did say Liu Kang, but it was actually Kung Lao versus the bird girl.
Yeah.
And so Kung Lao's hat is like his whole thing. He has like this big, almost, I don't know.
It's like a giant
circle,
like razor blade, so to speak. Like,
and the whole edge of the hat is knives, or it's a blade.
Yeah.
So he's fighting her. He basically whips his hat to get it to start as like a saw blade, and then just lets it sit as it's spinning, and just like kicks her into the blade and fucking chops her in half.
She dead.
She is dead. So hello and goodbye. You did not last long.
Nope.
Yeah. So, like you just said, he says flawless victory. Goro is about to kill Cole. Goro is about to kill Cole. His wife protects him and hits Goro with an axe to his like abdomen.
Goro's that was dope.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit. Goro is about to kill Cole's wife, but all of a sudden Cole gets powers.
His Okana is unlocked.
Which I really didn't understand his power. He basically just got a protective armor in his upper body, and then these two, like, almost looks like Baraka.
Yeah, sort of.
But he just had like a blade-looking thing underneath his hand, his arm.
It's like a police baton, but at the end of the baton is like a giant knife.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It was kind of weird. Yeah, so they fight, and now it's more of an even fight because Cole has his powers, and Cole gets swords and a golden upper body, like I said, like a body armor. He cuts the top left hand of Goro, and then stabs just into his body, and then with one arm in his body, he just stabs Goro right in the head.
Goro goes down.
So now, good guys 2, bad guys none.
Jack sees Sonja trapped under the rocks as he tries to help her with his tiny little robot arms. He realizes he can't. And then, out of nowhere, because of his love and feeling for her, he finally gets his Okana as well, and his little robot arms grow into some big-ass jacked robot arms. He's stronger and increases his size and picks up the rock and chucks it off of her. Raiden calls for Cole to come back, and now that he has his Okana, then he can transfer back and defeat them. And put them in... Now Raiden calls for Cole to come back, and as he does, he also transfers the other heroes into a different place called the Void, so that way they can kind of regroup, because everybody's kind of getting their ass whooped. And Kung Lao tries to help
Cole.
But Shang Tsung kind of grabs him, and he was like, nah, I got you. He's like, I'm going to suck your soul. And he starts sucking his soul out. And Liu Kang is like, no, like it's killing him, and he's trying to save him. But he captures Cole and Liu Kang to get transferred to the void with everybody else, and Kang Lao dies.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because like you thought they were all gonna escape because Raiden came in and started like teleporting them, and then like they're all like mid teleport, and what it was like Cole was in the teleportation thing. Sub Zero pulled him out, so Kung Lao jumped out to protect him. Cole got out, but then Shang Tsung did like his magic powers and like pulled him toward him, and he's
Yep.
like, "Your soul is mine," and started like you said, sucking the soul out of him. And Liu Kang and Cole are seeing this as they're like teleporting, and like you said, Liu Kang is all like devastated and shit, because like now it's 2-1 bad guy or good guys, because Kung Lao with that fucking awesome fatality seems to be killed.
Yeah, this was sad. This was
Yeah.
really sad. I did not see that coming.
So now they're in that void that Andy was just talking about, and Raiden gives Cole his ancestor's knife, which is like the knife that Scorpion uses. And basically, they discuss that now that they all have powers, can Raiden teleport them wherever and with whoever they want. And Raiden's like, "Yeah, I got you." So basically, Raiden starts teleporting like one hero and one bad guy into these different areas so they can face off.
Because they said they didn't want a tournament. They're going to give them a tournament.
Yeah. So we get Liu Kang versus Cabal, which they're like outside, right?
No, they aren't they inside in that one temple?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So now we have Liu Kang versus Cabal. We have Molina versus my autocorrect seems to have messed that one up.
I think it's
Who-
Molina versus Cole.
Cole, yes, because yeah, it says Coke, not Cole.
Jax versus General Raiko, and Sonja versus Kano.
Yep.
So Jax is getting revenge on Raiko because Raiko was the one with that big ass hammer that kind of beat him down to get to that one spot. And then
And this is on that
Jax,
bridge level that's in Mortal
yeah,
Kombat 2. With that, like if you do the uppercut, they fall into like the pit of spikes. The
I
spike
love
pit.
that bridge.
Yeah, it's that bridge. So that was cool. That was a throwback.
So he's beating his ass, and then finally, like he punches him down. He breaks his hammer, and then he takes his arms out, and he, boom, big clap,
He clapped his head off.
explodes it. Jax looks at his arms, and goes, "Yeah, these motherfuckers work," and walks off. I was like, "That's dope."
And then we have so now 3-1 good guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then it's Sonja versus Kano. They go back to Sonja's little trailer, and Sonja's hiding underneath, like, I guess she had like exits or like hiding strategies, and she keeps like slicing like Kano's legs, and they're fighting. She throws like bleach or something in his eye, so he goes to like do his laser deal, and it fires back, and then she puts him through a glass window. They start fighting. He gets her in like a sleeper hold, and he's like, "Night, night, bitch." Sonja grabs that same gnome that Kano spit on earlier and was like, "Yeah, fuck you. I have it in me," and stabs him in the eye with the point of the hat point of the gnome. And Kano dies. As you're laying there, you see the marking go on her shoulder because now she's a marker champion because she took it from Kano. And she just sits there and smiles.
And now we have 4-1 bad guy or good guys.
Yup.
All right, so now we go back to Liu Kang and Cabal, and Liu Kang does the bicycle kick, the whoa, 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 bicycle kick, and so it ends up kicking Cabal into like an oil puddle of some sort, and Liu Kang goes to do his like fire, and he fucking shoots the fire to the ground, and then it almost makes a fire dragon that just ends up eating Cabal and just burning him to ashes. And Animality, is that what it was called? The They had like Babyality, animality. It's like the fatalities, but different versions.
Yeah. Well, when he walks away, Liu Kang says fatality for Kung Lao.
Yeah,
Kind of like he's
but
getting
it's called
revenge.
something. It's called something different
It's
in the game.
I can't. I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it though.
Animality, like a fatality with an animal because it was a dragon.
I think so.
Yeah. Either way. Cole is having trouble with Molina, and all of a sudden Sonja comes back in and just fucking blasts Molina through the stomach. And so now, wait, actually, after Cabal was dead, that's 5-1. Good guys. The fucking Sonja comes in, blasts a hole through the stomach of Molina. Now we're 6-1. Good guys.
Now all that's left is Sub-Zero.
But it's like, dude, you don't know what Sonja's powers are, and then you don't really know what Sonja's powers are because they don't show you. It just
Yeah, it
shows
kinda
the
just
hole in
happens.
Molina.
Yeah, it happens like off camera, and then like when you see her, like her forearms are glowing and everything, and it's just like, oh, all right, maybe she had like a super punch or something.
Yeah,
But
and
they
then
don't really go into that.
they show Cole's wife packing. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
Because
because
I
she
don't
was
think.
getting ready to leave, because she'll be like, I'll be fucked if another four-armed freak comes to visit us. And then
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden the door freezes and it's Sub-Zero, and she's like, ah, shit.
Mm-hmm.
And here's something I just realized as we were talking about this. When they were in the void, they were like, we can't beat Sub-Zero by ourselves. Okay?
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
they
why
were
they
like,
had to pick them one off one at a
yep.
time.
They were going to pick them all off one at a time. Then all four of them were going to go fight Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
So Sub-Zero takes Cole's family. And then you see this black cloud come up in wherever they all are. I think they're back in the temple. And Sub-Zero shows the bracelet that his daughter made, and then freezes it and then breaks it. And then Cole realizes that Sub-Zero has his family. So Sub-Zero goes back into the cloud, disappearing. Cole runs after it into the cloud, and then everybody else stays behind.
Well, because the cloud closes.
So now it's 1-on-1 right now.
So now, wait. Okay, just to keep this in mind. Cole was the last one to figure out his powers.
Yep.
Okay. Cole was in his past life. He was basically an MMA fighter that is basically past his prime almost because he just doesn't win fights anymore. And think about this: he had trouble with Molina,
Yeah.
and now he's going to fight one-on-one Sub-Zero.
Yep.
So,
He about to
one-on-one fight, Sub-Zero has the clear advantage.
He's about to die.
He's about to die. Cole's about to die. And the blade of Hanzo goes right through Sub-Zero, and it's fucking Scorpion. Get the fuck over here.
Get over here.
It's Ice Blade versus Hanzo and his sword. Sub-Zero uses his decoy move. It's like what? It's like down back X or something. And he
Yeah.
like flips backwards and makes like a frozen version of himself, and like it's like a decoy. So that was cool. And then Cole and Scorpion, the 2-on-1 handicap match. Cole gets the advantage and stabs Sub-Zero. Scorpion shoots fire at the floor and gets loose because Sub-Zero froze him. He pulls. Oh, they pull his chest, and a double team move. Sub-Zero is slammed on the floor. Like it's like
Oh, he whips the blade and then
catches him.
catches him,
Pulls
whips it
him.
again or kicks it, gets into him, and then they both pull him down.
Yeah, it was like a double pull in slam, kind of. Yeah. Then as Scorpion is down on the ground, no, as Sub-Zero's down on the ground, like Cole's trying to free his wife because Sub-Zero froze his wife and his kid. And so now Sub-Zero's down on his knees, and fucking Scorpion just pulls off his mask and just hellfire fatality to Sub-Zero as he gets burnt. And again, they started talking in Japanese and Chinese about stuff, but nothing that really mattered to the story.
Well, there's a ton of things that were awesome about this, because if you realize, Sub-Zero is like, it can't be you, Hanzo, and he's like, I'm no longer Hanzo, I am Scorpion, and he says the same thing when he's Sub-Zero. Also, Scorpion tries to do the same trick from the tree where he threw the blade into the tree and then he whips it back and he cuts his face. And when he did that and he went to go pull it back, Sub-Zero caught it and he was like, not today, motherfucker. And then they start fighting and he whips the chain around him, which pulls him into the cage.
This was a lot. Like, I would say that this was the best fight scene of the whole movie.
That's because it was built from the beginning of the movie till then, because Sub-Zero killed Hanzo and his family, and he's like, don't forget this face, like, I will get my revenge. And then when Scorpion comes back, he's like, you thought the fires of the Netherrealm was going to kill me, but I learned to hone it and use it as the powers of my own. Mm-hmm. Now, at the end of the movie, you got the fight that you wanted to see, because he's finally getting his revenge.
Dude, just like the fact that, because in the game, like, Sub-Zero makes swords too. Mm-hmm. Like, wood is ice. Like, the fact that he was just like, and he was like creating the sword out of ice, I was like, oh, that is fucking sick. And then just like the back and forth, like, you could tell that these guys have been fighting for centuries, even though one has been dead.
And then he creates the giant sword, and then he throws the icicles at him, and then starts fucking up with the sword.
Yeah, it was fast paced. Like, you would have to slow down this scene to really get like every move.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fatality, and he says, "You freed me, so take care of my." Basically, he goes to Cole and goes, "You freed me, now take care of my bloodline," and then Scorpion disappears. And this is what we were talking about before. Does Cole speak Japanese?
Does he understand what the fuck he just said?
Does he understand who was just fighting with him?
I think he understands who was fighting with him, but I don't think he understands, because remember, he was having the nightmares, so he's seen his face.
Yeah, but he doesn't know who he is. It's a familiar face.
Because
he doesn't know what he looks like.
But Raiden did tell him about his bloodline, and gave him the dagger, and told him, like, this is from your great ancestor. So I think he might have put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, but it's not like he couldn't be 100%.
I don't think he was 100%, but I think. And then the
fact that he started talking to him, so you're like, who the fuck is this guy fighting with me? He seems to not want to kill me.
So.
And then we kill the other guy, and then he says something in Japanese, which I don't think I understand, and then just leaves. I mean,
that's what got me.
I guess that could have been my ancestor.
Possibly, but I'm gonna get my kids out first. Yeah, I didn't understand that either. I was very confused.
Yeah. And then Raiden arrives with the other heroes, and Shang Tsung arrives and says they killed his fighters, and then he pulls each of the dead bad guys into like some smoke, and then as they disappear, and Shang says that he will be back with armies, and Raiden zaps Shang Tsung and he leaves. So, okay.
He talks too much.
Here we go. I've heard that Sub-Zero turns into Smoke.
Noob.
Noob. Yeah, right?
Noob. Yeah, Noob.
Yeah. He turns into Noob, which is why there is black smoke around him.
Well, there's black smoke around him and Gordo.
Yeah, there was, but that's what the rumor is saying, that the black smoke turns him into Noob.
Because Shang Tsung only said that that death was just another portal.
Yeah.
So he's not dead. He's just going to another realm. So that'd be dope for him to be Smoke.
Because there are two different Sub-Zeros. And there's a good one and a bad one, and is like the bad one wears the whole gear, and the good one doesn't.
Yeah.
And he does say about his brother was killed in the beginning, so it could be like he's doing the revenge.
And you might be right about that, because if you realize towards the end he rips off all the Sub-Zero gear right before he dies.
Mm-hmm.
So he could come back with some new gear.
Mm-hmm. Um. So basically, Raiden says they must make a new list of heroes, and Cole says, "Who first?" So back at his gym, he tells the owner of the gym or his buddy at the gym that he's quitting and he's going to Hollywood. Then it shows a Johnny Cage poster and it shows his belt that says Cage and Mortal Kombat. End of movie.
No end scene, credit scene, special scene. That's just how it ends the movie.
Mm.
So you gotta expect that they're coming out with a second one.
But that's what I'm saying. It kind of just didn't feel like it was finally getting somewhere, and then it just ended.
Which goes back to my original statement of they gave us half a movie.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna have the director's cut and give us the whole movie.
Or they'll fill it in part two if there ends up being a part two. But apparently, the guy who plays Sub-Zero signed on for 4 movies.
That's dope.
Yeah. And there was a part that I cannot remember what part of the movie there was, but there was... it was actually, so, wow, super early back. Way, way back. It was when they were at Sonja Blade's thing and they were, like, looking over the research.
Mm-hmm.
You saw some of the names of other characters. I think you saw Stryker. You saw the Nightwolf.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, you see his photo, like a photo of him. So like you see some of that stuff. That it's basically heroes that they have yet to find, or heroes that might already be dead.
Oh. I wonder if Kano took the marking from Stryker. That would make a ton of sense. Cause isn't he like a
cop?
A cop, yeah.
So that could have been why Sonja arrested him, because Sonja is like ex-military or military.
Yep.
So little details like that. Yeah. So to me, I don't know. Like, I didn't hate it because like the fight scenes were cool, the fatalities were cool. Just seeing the characters on a live action movie is cool.
Yep.
You know, some of the retro like levels, like the bridge level and stuff like that, like the Kano wins, flawless victory, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Your soul is mine, like all that stuff. Like the nostalgia stuff was cool. But yeah, I don't know. I'd say like a 6.5, honestly.
Ooh, okay. I don't know why this just came to my mind, but the scene where Molina's walking through the outer world, didn't it remind you of like Power Rangers, the movie, when they're walking through like the rock and then like putties are about to jump out?
Yes, I think I could picture that.
I mean, I thought it was a good movie. I thought, like you said, it had a lot of great fight scenes. The nostalgia of all the boards and them saying this stuff like flawless victory or Kano wins. Kano made it for me. Kano was funny as hell throughout the entire movie, and I wish they kept him. That's my one big flaw of the movie.
But now hold on real quick. Do you think it's good or bad that the character that most people enjoyed was a bad person? Like, because realistically, I didn't have any emotional connection to Cole.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Sonja. Jax.
I did a little.
Hanzo is the one that I was like, oh shit, his family got killed, he's coming back. You know, there was some kind of, like, even Jax, like the only story you really got from him was his arms got chopped off and he came back. But besides that, and the fact that him and Sonja know each other, that's all you know.
That's true.
Cole, you know he was a fighter. And then he started sucking, and his ancestor's Hanzo.
And they went after his family. So he's protecting his family.
Kung Lao, you know that him and Liu Kang were friends, and they grew up together.
Oh, they were cousins, weren't they?
Well, I think they called each other cousins. But Liu Kang says a story about how like they he was like an orphan, and they kind of grew up together.
Okay.
So I could be wrong. So again, Kung Lao, you don't. That's all you know, and he dies. Liu
Yeah.
Kang, you know the same thing you know from Kung Lao, and he's a bitch. And he's like, I'm a skinny bitch that just shoots fireballs out of my hand.
Peace be with you.
But then you have Kano, who you know he killed somebody for it. You know he's a badass. You know that Sonja hates him. You know he's from Australia. You know he's funny. He gets his ass whooped the whole movie, and he keeps getting up, so he's resilient.
I think it's his dialogue.
And then they give him right. They give his character some depth because he was a good guy, and then he went to a bad guy.
Yep.
So like, they gave a lot.
Yeah.
Even the villains, Shang Tsung. Okay, what about him? The
They gave no introduction to him.
Kitara, the bird lady. Hi and bye.
No introduction either.
They said Prince Goro. That's it.
I didn't even catch that too, by the way. But because he says Shao Kahn blood or something like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't catch what he says after that because it's like so muffled when he's at the door, and then it just switched to a different scene, and they never speak of him again.
But you know what I'm saying? And then what the general guy, whatever his name was, who the fuck is that?
No backstory on it.
No, nothing at all. And
No.
even and then Cabal had a backstory. He didn't like Kano.
But again, that the most two people I love playing as Cabal in Mortal Kombat just because how he plays. But then Cabal had the same dialogue that Kano had, which made me like Cabal even much more.
Because they were just being sarcastic and just being, dicks.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, there's probably a grouchy motherfucker that's there with bad breath. Don't worry, you'll like him. He's a real asshole." Yeah. I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right, Cabal's cool." Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't really get anything. You get the two main people you get are Hanzo, who's in the beginning and the end of the movie.
Which is why you wanted to see him in sub.
But he was maybe in the movie a total of 15 minutes out of the hour 50.
Scorpion?
Yeah,
probably less than that.
Okay, so less than that. And he had a storyline. His family got killed. He got killed. He's gonna come back for revenge. The Sub-Zero is still fucking people around. And then Sub-Zero, you got the same thing. Hanzo killed his brother. He's looking for revenge. Blah, blah. But besides that, like...
I think the story was built mainly around Sub-Zero.
Yeah, a bad guy.
Yeah, but you had the...
And no sympathy for him.
Emotional connection for Scorpion.
Yeah.
But he wasn't in the movie until the end. Technically.
Yeah. And then okay... As a fan of the video game, the fuck this mark shit? Like, I have a mark, so I'm chosen. Motherfucker, the 95 one, they were just like, I'm a good fighter, I'm gonna go fuck people up. They volunteer almost.
Yep.
And I'm like, what? And he was born with it? And like, even okay, now I feel like I'm lowering my score, but even like the whole Mortal Kombat, the actual Mortal Kombat, they barely even talked about it.
They didn't talk about it at all.
Like, if they win 10 years in a row, the bad guys can invade Earth. Okay, so what happened in the last one? Have the other 9 been close? Give a little story on it. Be like, oh, the bad guys haven't invaded Earth in 100,000 years. This is why they want to do it so bad. They had no motivation. It was, we want to win Mortal Kombat so we can invade. But why? What are you going to do? What's your intention? Nothing.
Well, this is why I say it's just like they Justice Leagued us. Like, they gave us half a movie. It was a good movie. I liked it, but they still gave us half a movie.
Bro, it's just like, they just left out so much.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see, like, the last 2 tournaments and some of these characters. Or if you're going to kill characters off screen, like I said, maybe Stryker or the Nightwolf guy, show it.
Yeah. Yeah, have a small flashback or at least like a small hint towards something.
Yeah, because then, dude, there's people who like those characters that are like, oh yeah, of course they're gonna die because it's Mortal Kombat and they need to make the story, but like, at least I got to see my favorite character on screen.
Here's a question that I have for you, because I've seen a lot of people on social media hate the fact that they didn't see anything about Johnny Cage, and they were like, "You have to have Johnny Cage in a Mortal Kombat movie." Do you think the ending sufficed their Johnny Cage fix, or you think it just pissed everybody off even more?
I think it pissed people off because they were like, we waited the whole movie and now you're gonna make us wait a whole nother like 2 or 3 years.
My thoughts exactly.
Yeah. But dude, like why didn't they introduce I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. I didn't hear them mention Katana at all and their twin sisters
They didn't.
or their sisters. You know what I'm saying? Like
Nobody really got a backstory though.
nobody.
Like, but Kano did.
Yeah, but that was it after an hour 50 minutes.
Kano was funny as hell.
It just felt so empty, if that makes it. Like the movie just felt empty.
When I first watched it, I didn't feel that way. But then when I analyzed it the second time for notes, I was just like, ooh.
It was like fight
This
scenes
feels weird.
and just empty.
Yeah.
Like
It kinda
nothing
felt
really
like-
mattered.
It kind of felt like the story was skipping just to progress.
Yes.
Like, all right, we're here. Now we have to get to here.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, you get to Sonja. And then the next thing you see is he's at his family's house. It's just like, oh, this is something I got to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, Scorpion's not following everybody. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt weird.
Yeah. It was weird.
I still give it an 8.
Oh, okay.
I still
I'm gonna
give it
stay like 6.5. But I found the ratings of IGN, Rotten Tomatoes, and IMDb. Do you want them?
Ooh. What were they?
Okay. So IMDb gave it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
No. IGN gave it a 7 out of 10. IMDb
Okay.
gave it a 6.4.
All right.
Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave it a 56%. The audience gave it an 87%. Yeah. So it's a mixed bag.
That's not too bad though.
Yeah. Anything else you wanna add? I mean, I'm trying to think of like other things. Like Liu Kang was a bitch. Kung Lao was awesome and they killed him. The only cool, he was like the true badass good guy. Raiden didn't do anything.
No, not at all.
He teleported people back and forth.
Well, he said he couldn't do anything because it technically wasn't the tournament, so he couldn't get involved.
So don't introduce him.
Yeah, but he's a major part in the Mortal Kombat series. Like, you can't have Mortal Kombat without Raiden.
But he had 4 lines.
I agree.
Like even Sunshine. Oh, wow, can't even say the bad guy's name. What's the bad guy's name?
You just said it too.
Yeah. Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung.
His motivation wasn't there either. He's like, okay, I suck people's souls, and I want to suck the world's soul.
Well, he wanted to win. He wanted to take over Earth. So
Well,
that's kind of like his motivation. Like, he didn't want the others to get involved, and he didn't want the prophecy of Hanzo to be fulfilled. And Scorpion's like, well, I killed him centuries ago. It's not going to. He's like, yeah, but his lineage is still there, so we need to get this done. So he kind of had a motive.
Okay, I got another thing.
Okay.
They hyped this shit like there was going to be so much gore. They were like, this is going to be on the verge of an NC-17 rating.
Nope.
Not even close.
Nope.
Dude, Saw is rated R, and that was more gory than this movie.
So they got me too, because in the beginning, when Hanzo was fucking everybody up, Like, that's gory. But that's about as far as you're getting in the entire movie.
Well,
When it
and the
comes to
saw
gore.
hat.
Yeah. But that's about it.
Everything else is in a normal horror film.
I mean, he rips off Jax's arms, which was kind of crazy.
And then he gets his head squashed.
Yeah.
But like,
Oh, and Reptile gets his heart pulled out of his chest.
but it was like an animal. You know what I'm saying? So it's not as like.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, it definitely could have been worse.
So I was like, I thought there was gonna. I don't know, man. I was expecting so much. Like I thought there was gonna be like actual arena fights. Like remember in Mortal Kombat the '95 version, like they introduced some like smaller, like not as important characters that ended up being like a story reason why these characters like get the motivation to fight.
Yeah.
There's nothing of that. Like they could have added these like nobody characters named Steve Johnson or something. And they could have been like, Steve, oh yeah, how'd you get your thing? Oh yeah, I got my thing. Yeah, blah 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 blah. And then him getting eaten by Molina.
Yeah. And then it's just like, oh, okay.
None of
Yeah.
that. None of
Yeah.
it.
Again, they needed more story. They needed more depth, and they didn't get. They gave us half a movie.
Yeah.
That's what they seem to be doing now.
Anything else you want to add to?
Now I think we
That?
covered it all.
All right. Well, I don't know, guys. The battle scenes were cool. The fight scenes were cool, but I was left feeling hungry. Just wanted a little bit more.
I do want more. I do want more.
Hopefully, we get it sooner.
Bring
than
back
later.
Kano if you can.
Bring back a lot of characters. They
That
only
was awesome.
they only dude. There's like 50 Mortal Kombat characters or 60 Mortal Kombat characters.
They use like 12.
Yeah. So they got.
This reminds me of Infinity Wars. Which
Okay.
the reason why you should never read a comic and then watch a movie. You have 2 full pages of people you're fighting, and then you get to the movies and it's 6-on-6. It's just sad.
Like even Captain America: Civil War, like that was a great movie. Don't get me wrong, but the actual comic book was like hundreds
what I
versus
meant.
hundreds.
That's what I meant. Not Infinity War, Civil War.
Oh, word. Either
Yeah.
way. Yeah. But
It's sad.
it's sad. All right, so I guess we'll call it here then. I don't know what you guys think. Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? I feel like we kind of gave it like, almost like, it wasn't enough, and maybe you're still feeling that way after hearing us talk. That's how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I felt like that watching the movie. So,
I feel like that more now that we've talked about it.
right?
So
We're kind of leaving on a weird note, but just remember, guys, next week we are going to be on a better note because we will be reviewing Falcon and the Winter Soldier 6-episode miniseries on Disney Plus.
I'm excited. I finished it today. It was dope.
It was dope from
I can't
beginning to end, and it was unlike WandaVision that kind of took the build. This jumped right in
Facts.
and never really let go.
Facts.
But before we go, I'm going to ask, as always, if we can have all of you like, share, follow, rate, review, and subscribe to Disaster Party Podcast on all social media platforms and YouTube. It does help us out. It gets our name out on this podcast apps, so we come up more. Or they're recommended more. We're recommended more. And on YouTube, it'll come up as For You pages. And same thing with TikTok, For You pages. Like us. Comment. Subscribe. Do what you can. Thank you. As always, this is Rob Sedano.
And Andy Bivian's the one true old daddy.
And we are out. Bye. Bye.